I hope you had a good week since our last stream. And for those of you that are coming new, we are actually doing a little indie marketing on one of my projects as the plan that MAI provided for us. Now, usually we would want to prepare every single strategy before publishing anything. However, we are busy guys, as most likely are you, and we are gonna take we're gonna show you how to approach the situations if you just don't have the time. Like we discussed, we only have a few hours every week to promote the children of preservation. So, we're gonna be doing it guerrilla way. Now, let's see. That means we're gonna be starting with marketplaces. That's a very common strategy. Let's check it out here. Now, we do have a full list of marketplaces that could work for this game. However, there is one very, very important thing, and we're going to be seeing a lot of that throughout the whole presentation here, the whole stream. Don't do work that's already done. That's very important. Save your budget for the work that needs to be done. Now, let's take a quick change here. Here we have the strategy that we're going to be discussing today. Now we know that online marketplaces leverages the trusted online marketplaces to streamline your e-commerce. That's what we do in gaming when we go to Steam or Itch or GameJolt, places like that. There are many options, and you need to check which is the most appropriate for your game. Depending on the level of seriousness, usually serious games tend to end up on Steam because you have to pay Steam for the space. And that's kind of a filter. If you're serious about your game, investing in Steam is a very good idea. However, it's not the only option. We are looking at a very tight budget here, as most likely many of you. So we're going to be using itch.io for this stream. Now, let's hide this a little. Now, let's check out the game, because that takes us to the next order of business. Any marketing strategy immediately makes us think about sales, when marketing is about communications. In our case, we have a couple of steps that we need to take care of before we can start worrying and thinking about sales, which are finishing a team and obtaining a license. Now, this will likely be extra steps for most of you, and at the same time, it is important to focus your resources. Remember that for a particular strategy to be successful, it needs to have the appropriate resources, which is why not every MAI-powered marketing plan comes with a full extended consumer journey. Because sometimes, if the budget doesn't allow, it doesn't make sense to add more strategies. Now, in this case, we can see that the Children of Preservation is a very basic game. We have some elements from the story, some combat moves, and let's try to interact here. I should have read the tutorial. It's been a while since I've played this. Okay, I don't have the computer yet, so I need to. Oh, look at that. Need to use the powers. And, oh, careful here. But yeah, it has a basic AI, so a lot of the prototype work is already done. Now, what we really need is a graphic designer, because as you can see, I am not the best at graphic design. Now, let's go back to each. So when I tell you to focus your resources, if we know that we're going to be using each as our main channel, then why not use each to start the look for the next goal, which in this case is finding the graphic designer. We can definitely include it there, just as any of your goals. Now, I think that it is a good moment to take a second and ask you guys, do you have any questions so far? Is there anything that you would like me to go over better about the strategy or the current needs? What we talked about, the goals of the game? Just let me know in the chat. So, here we go to the game page. Now, this is ideally a very simple process, some screenshots, some captures of the game. As you can see, we already have some of that going on here, especially a trailer, which is particularly important. And again, we're not going to be doing work that's already done if we don't need to. So once we set everything we need to set up properly here, and we see now we're gonna need a better trailer, we're gonna need to change the banner, we can go ahead and do that on the A/B testing that we will be discussing at the end. Right now, we are going to be starting the promotion which means that we need to publish something, and so we can test it, right? So we can have a baseline for our A/B testing. Now, let's take the next step. First, we needed to define our online marketplaces, as we discussed, and we defined that we're going with each. Now, we prepared the display content. However, is that display content what we need? Let's check out the competition. That is the best way to know if your page is as it needs to be. First of all, we go to games and we're gonna check adventure games, right? Genre, adventure. So we got some similar games to our own. Now we know the top rated is likely the best games on the business. So let's start checking out those pages, right? That's the first step. Now we see that we use a simple banner. We don't use custom backgrounds. We have a trailer, but not a lot on the way of screenshots, so people focus on the trailer most likely. And this is a very interesting part. We only have a short introduction followed by 5 paragraphs of content, which if we go back to our initial one that I did a couple of years ago just to put the game out there, we can see that we have a ton of content here. And we are starting to find the first disparities with the top rated games of the genre. Now let's check the next one. They have a pretty cool banner. And again, 1 paragraph, a little bit of introduction, some information about the minimum requirement systems if that's important. Nothing that nothing extended about the game. They don't even use a trailer and they get top rated. And we start seeing that's a trend, right? Very little information, just tight page sale. So let's take care of that real quick. Now we're going to edit the game and we're gonna come here to the description. We have a bunch of information here that we don't want, as we can see. So we're just gonna go ahead and throw it all out, except for the starting introduction, and we're gonna start over to show you what is the best way I find to go about this. Now, a tribute to Brandon Sanderson's fantasy series Mistborn, The Final Barrier. That is very important to leave there since it is the main selling point of the game. And actually, now we talked about a little about the genre, and I think that's actually, people can see that very clearly on the content, so we can take that away as well. Remember that we're looking for the shortest possible web presentation about the game. We can talk a little bit about the controllers, though there is a small tutorial, so we can just skip that part just in case we should add it. I do remember I had a little bit of an issue there. Let's see. Oh, I'm going. Oh yeah, exactly. The first step we need to check is our audience profile, business information, and brand information in order to see what are our priorities for a very, very tight presentation. Now, we know their interests are fantasy, are adventure books, are platformers, action games, sci-fi, okay? Now, this is a particularly interesting thing since there is a challenge related to why I started the game. In those cases, you should try to focus on that one because challenges sell. Now, action game features very specific to the story in a daring way and promising authenticity. So, let's see. Let's get that on ball. And let's see. This is where you ask, someone that cares about fantasy and about the story, where does the game lead them? Why do they get to the game? Now, a good way to go about this is be frank and direct. You have a story with you, and you should leverage that always. Okay. Now, about how to play the game. And we leverage the channel for our most immediate goals, right? Okay, now we see a very tight description focused on what they'll get and what we're looking for. Let's save that. Check here. Much better. Now we also have a community section here where we're going to be adding all the information about the controls, all the information about where players may get stuck, maybe some lore. This is where you can go a little bit overboard on each, so that a player that's interested has a chance to explore a little farther the content that you have posted. Now, that seems to be about it, right? We already have a page, we published it. Let's check out what MAI says, right? Let's see. We go back, and after we prepare our display content, which by the way is only step 2, we get an interesting step. Develop a presence on each marketplace. Now, in this case, we're only going to be using one marketplace, and you can see that it is actually mentioned here. If there's a low budget assigned to this strategy, it's recommended to develop a presence on a single marketplace at a time. MAI's descriptions come with all kinds of tips and tricks to help you avoid and get the best out of your marketing budget. Now, each marketplace will have a different set of features and recommendations. It's important to follow these as closely as possible in order to improve your SEO. Now, what does that mean here on each? To develop a presence, to use those features as much as possible to develop our SEO. It means that if they let you have a trailer, you add a trailer. It means that you check the competition to see how they're doing and you make sure that you're doing at least the same. It means that you're going to use your community section and you're going to be aware and respond to messages on your community section. And there are also a lot of little features like view all by Daniel Rosales, so that means that you're gonna be able to do the same for other similar games, right? View all by Mao game. And that also means that you can follow these games, add them to collections, rate them. All that is awesome for improving your presence in Twitch. Engage with the community. That's always the best organic way to grow a channel. You start following people, they will have community sections as well where you can leave your comments and tell them, give them the feedback. If you're looking for feedback, give others feedback and ask the feedback in return. Again, depending on your goals, you can leverage your marketing assets for many ways. Now, let's check out what other features we can leverage on itch.io. Game jams. If you have the time, participating on game jams can be very productive for your itch.io profile. These can be very simple, and some will even let you add your own game regardless of when you started it. And that's another way to get a little attention on your game. Sales and bundles. That's another thing you can explore if your game is ready for monetization or for cash support, right? Because each allows you to to name your own price on your demos, which is a great feature for those close to the community who want to support you. Sales and bundles, co-op bundles. You have a ton of features, and the more features you leverage, the better you will rank to get featured on each, which after all is the goal. The goal we are looking at is to get the game here on this particular screen, where everyone that gets on Twitch will get a very, very clear exposure and recommendation from Twitch to download the game. Now, you don't get your game here by coincidence or just by SEO. That's very important. You need to check out the tiny little let's see. How did you look for it? I didn't want to do too much, so you can see how to solve these issues if you're working on other platforms. Obviously Google is a great tool, so we go for get featured on each. And naturally they have their own the answers in the forums. How do you get featured on each? Let's check it out. Demonstrate you put the effort into your game. And how do you demonstrate that? Like we talked about, take the time to put images, videos, and customize your page. Use all the features. That's the first thing they will look at, that you're properly using the platform and developing a presence in the platform. Make a post in release announcements. You see, that's something that we don't get right now, since I already announced the game a few years ago. However, you can see that you can start a topic in a forum to announce a release or an update that will get you featured. Use your own audience to give the game an initial boost. That is exactly why my marketing plan doesn't just have one strategy. It has a lot of ways, all the ways that are the most compatible to your particular project, in order to get you this initial boost. You build your community, you build your channels, your social media, you get a name for yourself going on Reddit through Karma. And when it's time to release your game, you have an actual chance to get featured on each. Post a devlog about your game. Now that's another feature, so we go back to demonstrate that you're putting in the effort. It is so important that they name it twice. Devlogs are basically a blog. Now naturally, if you have your website for your game, you want to do your blog, your devlog there. However, that doesn't mean that you cannot share your summaries with links on itch.io to get better positioning. The same options will be available in most platforms, and if they're not, that's okay. Remember that the important thing is to play the platform's game. You need to do every single detail to get a chance to get featured, which is going to make the largest difference here. Which is not to say that you need an awesome game to get featured, but if your game is awesome but you're not putting in the effort, clearly you're not going to get it where it needs to go. Now we see that we've seen a lot of information about release announcements. This is a particularly important thing to leverage. However, it's not the only place where you need to do your announcement, right? And let's see, we already talked about developing a presence. You know about others' communities, you know about the lists, you know about the release announcement, you know about the devlog, and each platform will have different options. A very common example is Steam, and they have a whole community section which you can moderate and you can fix and you can share content to make available for anybody interested. And naturally, using that community section will set you apart from other indie games. Now let's check. Sporadically promote each marketplace on your main channel. So it's time to go to Twitch, right? Oh wait, sorry. It's time to go to Twitter. Now, this is not the main account for the game, but it is mine, and it is very important. This is something that I actually recommend a lot. You need to be behind your projects. If you do not believe in your projects, it's going to make it a lot harder for other people to believe in them. Projects without human faces are harder to promote on social media. That's very clearly demonstrated, and you will see how much engagement you will get by just posting a picture of you out of context and everything. People love to see that there is a person on the other side of that platform, because that's the whole point of social media. The whole point of social media is that you're not, playing something against NPCs. You're interacting with other people. So we're going to let everybody know naturally, never forget the link and the CTA. The link and the CTA is particularly important since it can be particularly simple, but it is very, very important, since you want people to think about what you want them to do at that exact moment. They will be very likely, they will be much more likely to do so. Now we're bringing the children of preservation back on development. Now, let's check out this announcement. What are we missing? What do we have that we shouldn't have? But again, that's very easy to do if you just check the competition, right? And let's just do a search for my new platformer. The top tweets. We're not getting a lot of engagement here, not a lot of engagement here. Here we go. Okay, now we see that we need something that's particularly simple and to the point. That's what seems to be working. A new platformer. Graphic assets always get more engagement. That's very important to note if you're checking how much interest are you generating. If you put graphic assets on the comparison, it's going to be it's going to have an unjust amount of engagement. Use graphic assets in both. Let's see, not a lot of engagement, not a lot of engagement. Well, we can see that all of those who are getting good engagement are very, very simple and to the point. So we go back and we say this is a little too much. We are bringing the children of preservation back on development. Check it out. Is apparently what we want for this stage. Now let's check out. Here we go. I cannot find the right folder. Anyway, let's do this. Now, this is another interesting point to go back and check. Naturally, my main channel is itch.io. It's Twitter. I like Twitter a lot and I use it personally. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. However, it's not the only channel. We see here that the next step would be going to Facebook, and you should try to announce on as many channels as possible. Now, we know that the channel we like the most is Twitter, right? So we're just gonna use the same format to save time here. We naturally have the children of preservation ready. Oh wait, what is happening here? It's not. Did it tuck me out as an administrator from my own Facebook page? This doesn't look good. I'm just messing with you. Now, it is important to review that we're not missing the link when we're copying and pasting, because some sites like to take it out and just leave the images. Now that we posted it on Twitter, let's unpin this. Make sure to check out each channels, and you will get used to this as you go, right? As you practice and you do more marketing for your game, you will be getting more and more used to this. Now we see that YouTube. Now we already did the trailer, and here is a little trick for you guys that have let me switch accounts. This is a little tip for the guys here who already did their itch.io release and have not skipped some parts or something, didn't announce it at the same time. If you're doing the announcement and you already posted your trailer on YouTube, there is a simple trick. You go to edit your video, and first of all we check out, yes, there is the link. We know that we want to keep it short, so we change that up and we update it as we learn from what's working, right? We seeing that that's a trend. We keep it short. That's weird. Wasn't that the right one? And yeah, another good thing to edit once you're doing this, you should take the advantage of show more, exactly. Go to show more and check your tags. Gaming, cosmetic, performer, lecture, adventure, and let's add itch, indie game, indie development, and we save. That's not the same thing as making a full video release. However, you're gonna get some fresh SEO, some fresh positioning on your video because you changed the tags and the description, and that update will let YouTube know that the video is taking some relevance again. If you did well on your first time around, then you shouldn't have any problems getting a little bit. Don't overdo it, of course, because it's gonna lose the effect. It is a trick to be left for when you need it. And now, are we done? We already went through Twitter, Reddit. Reddit is an important channel, right? Like a network. Let's see. Now, Reddit is a particularly important channel for indie developers, and I've seen a lot of complaints I'm not going to be posting this today because we don't have a lot of time, and it is important. This is particularly important that we take our time. We will likely do a full stream just dedicated to how Reddit works. Why? Because you have to come to Help Center, Rules and Reporting, right? Account and community restrictions, right? What are Reddit's rules? Reddit is very extremely serious about their rules. However, those rules are not unfair, they're not crazy. They just want to make sure that you're not abusing the Reddit factor. What does that mean? Well, they have a bunch of the regular rules of any community, like no harassment, threatening violence, hate. That's extremely standard, and you should know about that by now, right? However, then we start seeing copyright violations. That's a little bit more evasive. Now, spam and ban evasion, vote manipulation, they do to take this extremely seriously. So make sure to understand the rules. What is a ban evasion? You see, they have content specifically on that, and they do ban you if you're not behaving properly. Now, the general rule, and make sure to check every subreddit that you're a part of, because that's one of the most important. Reddit general Reddit moderators have a lot of power over the content that you are posting. However, the ones that are can be a little trickier to work with are the specific subreddit moderators. They will have their own rules, and they will have their own tolerance for self-promotion. The usual norm, and I haven't heard any that go away from this too much. They usually are either more flexible, or they take Reddit's cue of 10% self-promotion is okay, which means that 1 of every 10 posts can be about your game. You have to, or in other words, as you should see it, once you post about your game on a subreddit, you need to post either on that or on different subreddits 9 other times. And a few comments help a lot as well. So no, we're not going to be posting 10 Reddit posts right now, but it is important that we go over this part. You know, you cannot ask people to give you upvotes. If the same person upvotes your content multiple times without being an active member of that subreddit, you will get banned. It is real. It is actually real. You know, as a marketer, I can tell you I have had accounts banned. I have seen many people get burn out their accounts. Now let's check out here the other area we should look for is forums. So now, naturally, I already know which are the right forums to look for and to post on, right? But again, Google is an excellent tool. I'm sorry I haven't been paying too much attention here. Okay. Now let's see. Again, the forums are pretty much like Reddit. They have some strict rules, and you have to check them out accordingly. Now, which means that you need to go to the specific sections that allow for your work, right? And first we see Creators Corner. Here's your new home. You see? We have, oh wait a second. They have one for, that's cool. But no, I think the creator's corner will be more appropriate here. Let's see. Start a new topic. And we know our format, which we already decided. Let's see. And we'll submit. Okay. So that took us through our main channels. Now, let's get to the most interesting part here. A/B test your display content. How are we going to be A/B testing our display content? That is very important. We just made a major change. It's very simple, actually, more than it seems. We just go to analytics. We see that without promotion, there are some views, few sporadic downloads, you know. However, the most active days we reach is 6, so we're not worried too much about this contaminating our results because it was already released. It was a while ago. And we get some SEO searches mostly, as you can see here. However, this is where we're going to be keeping an eye on things for our A/B testing. 1 week from now, we're going to be doing another stream at the same time. And we're going to be checking with the changes and the new promotion. Is the game getting more views and more downloads, which is ultimately much more important, right? Are we getting more or less downloads? First, with this major change we did, we're going to establish a baseline of that week. During that week, we'll see how much are we getting, and we're going to make our first A/B test changes. So keep, I'll see you then. I really look forward to that part. Now, I also wanted to remind you that the offer on MAI is going to be available until September the 15th. Right? That means you still have a month to get with your $30 marketing plan 2 additional marketing consultations for your game, where we'll be able to make sure that you are using the strategies as you should. And a month after, we're going to be checking that everything is optimized properly. We're going to be guiding you throughout the optimization of your campaign without any additional charges. I really hope you enjoy the campaign, the stream. Please don't hesitate to leave us comments. We want to help you promote your indie games as best as you can. And if you have any doubts, if you have any questions, we are always on our Discord server. Check us out there. Let me drop that link on the chat. Here we go. Here we go. Just in case. Well, and I'm gonna be leaving you for today, guys. Remember that Join our Discord server. You can ask us anything about marketing there to get the attention your indie game actually deserves. And hurry up ordering your MyPower marketing plan, since you only have a little over a month to get that amazing additional package. I hope you have a great day, guys. Bye.